Music. Class, we're at number 22. Going strong. Exploring these concepts. These classes are an opportunity, besides to share some of these ideas, also for me also to work through some of the concepts, especially what we're working on right now, which is this very kind of cryptic and begging to be applied to music concepts from Zohar, the idea of the 4 levels of song. So this is the 4th installment, and we're going to be going deeper into it in a later date. Here we're kind of getting an overview, beginning to explore the 4 levels of song and how it's possibly applied to music, and certainly how we can understand it's applied to our own lives and to our avodas Hashem, our spiritual growth, our relationships. And from that we can understand how music applies to these things. Music as part of our spiritual growth. Music as something that's enhancing, deepening our relationships, as opposed to sometimes what happens when a person enters a creative space. Sometimes it's at the detriment of relationships. So this idea of the 4 levels of song, particularly when we get to this 4th level, is really about integration. Right, so to remind you, you can go to the sources on sunheitsrecords.com, either Chassidus and music, or the page with the classes. This is class number 22, whether you're watching live or seeing it later in an archive. And if you're watching live, you go to soundheitsrecords.com/events, and you'll also see these sources. So it's a PDF you can download. This is one of the many translations and commentaries they're working on, because this, as far as we know, exists only in Hebrew. But we can, we're translating it. We translate everything here in this class, but then ultimately the aim is to have this translated in printed form so people can learn it and share it, and work on these concepts regardless of the level of Hebrew knowledge, and gain in Hebrew knowledge through this learning. So get this PDF. It's a 1-page. That's what we're learning right now. It's the Maimer Yavelhu from Torah Or, and we've been working through it quite. It's a short, very short Maimer. Right? These Maimorim, these discourses in Torah Or and the Kuti Torah can sometimes get very long. This one is very short, and it's, as we've mentioned, it's shortened from the original discourse that was actually spoken by the Reb Shneur Zalman, the Alter Rebbe. So really, this is like an entryway point. There's a reason why it's shortened to these degrees. These are very seminal points of these concepts. But to really understand and bring out these concepts, we have a longer mimer from the Alter Rebbe, and then the much longer biur explanation from the Mittler Rebbe. And I think I just finally got in the mail in my Florida exile, away from my forum, this Torah's Chaim, which has the long 50-chapter commentary explanation of these concepts, the 4 levels of song in particular, which we're getting into now. So I've referenced some of it, but obviously there's a lot more to delve into. There's a lot of details the Mittler Rebbe goes into, some of which we'll reference today, but there's a lot more to uncover and unpack and ultimately be able to apply to our lives and our music. So let's get back into the text here. So in the right-hand column, right near the bottom, we'd worked last time. We'd quoted a pasuk from the prophet Zechariah, that ki arba ruchas hashamayim, like the 4 winds of heaven, parashti eschem, I spread you out. Right, so this pasuk, this verse, is speaking about the exile of the Jewish people. That I spread you out like the 4 winds of heaven. And so the obvious question, the famous question on this, why does it say kiruches hashamayim, like the 4 winds? Or ruchos is also going to be sides, 4 directions, it can mean, in a simple term. So like the 4 directions of heaven, I've spread you out. I've sent you all around the globe. So why doesn't it say b abaruchos? Why doesn't it say it's in the 4 directions that I sent you? So the reason we're understanding why it says ke'arba, like the 4 winds, like the 4 directions that I spread you. Again, Hashem, God speaking to the Jewish people, sending into exile on a mission. Like the winds are on a mission. That there's a saying from the sages in the Talmud, Talmud Mesechet Tainus, the section of the Gemara dealing with fasts and many different topics connected with those things, and as the Talmud does, deal with other topics seemingly unrelated. But over there it says just like what we're learning from this pasuk, from this verse, just like the world cannot exist without ruchos, just like the world cannot exist. So again, 2 interpretations of the word ruchos that we're focusing on. Ruchos meaning winds, ruchos meaning directions, sides, dimensions, really, physical dimensions. So just like the world could not exist without a physical space, right? A very fundamental concept. Just like the world cannot exist without winds, we could say as well. So too, kach, right? Ein ha'olam kayim, without Yisrael, bli Yisrael. The world cannot exist without the Jewish people. And when we're thinking about our identity as Jews, as human beings as well, our mission in this world, the world depends on us. And so one might look at themselves as just one of many, many winds, or one side, one facet of many in the world. But we see, I sent you out on a mission. I spread you out, right? And so this is the mission. So the 4 levels of song, as we're going to discuss it today, we're going to discuss the mission, the divine mandate, the job, the role of a musician in the world, who's been spread to the 4 winds, who's been sent into maybe difficult circumstances or difficult places, and not necessarily even into the heart, what seems like the heart of the matter, meaning a person is sent and doesn't have the ability to conquer the whole battle, is not looking over everything and is perfecting everything in their view, but they have a single aspect that they can focus on, a single ruach, a single wind or a single side. So we're going to get into this idea of 4. Right, so 4 is an indication of multitude. Right, so when we find ourselves in the 4, for example, we could be one of 4. We could be one of 4 categories. Right, of course, 4 is a stand-in, as is even in a simpler terms. 2 is a stand-in for multiplicity. Right, we have. So it's interesting. We talk about the 4 songs. We've been discussing the 4 levels. And it doesn't say the single song, the double song, the triple song, and the quadruple song. It says the shir pashut, the simple song, the double song, the triple song, and the quadruple song. So at the fundamental level, the simple song is not a number that's to be counted. So in a sense, there's 3 levels. It's very interesting that the way the Chassidus, the Rebbeim explain this, the Mittler Rebbe particularly explains this in more detail. Then when we're understanding the 4 levels, we can understand it as 4, and there are many explanations with which we can describe it as 4 particular levels. Or this first level is really Shir Pashut, is a simple song, right? Like the Sly and the Family Stone song, right? Sing a simple song, right? And so a simple song is something that is beyond delineation. It's beyond differentiation. It's something that's kind of, in a way, behind everything. It's behind all songs. And we see practically what that means. We can understand through how that applies to us, as we've said. That shir pashut is the idea of having a pashut, a simple, completely uncomplicated approach to the music, a completely uncomplicated approach to humility. The humility is not coming because of a reason, because of an intellectual meditation or understanding. The humility is coming because a person has completely put their ego aside. A person has completely become a vessel for the music. All right, person is completely overwhelmed and a channel for the divine energy, the divine light. And this is a very fundamental and essential level, but again, there's a reason why there's a song, a double song, a triple and a quadruple, that are in many ways seemingly less important, right? So a song where a person is completely out of the way and they're just channeling divine energy, and the person themselves is not at all mixed up in that revelation, seems to be a very, very much more powerful revelation than anything where a person is mixed up in it, where they have their personality, their contribution is present. But the truth is that there is that advantage of being such a powerful revelation of music, when I completely get out of the way, is an advantage of the simple song. But it's also a shortcoming of the simple song, because it's not permeating, it's blowing everything away. It's not transforming anything. It's not transforming everything. It's nullifying everything. So we want to be able to tap into this level, but we can't only tap into this level, because there's this level we can to tap into this level where a person can completely put themselves aside is a beautiful thing. In Chassidus terms, this would be called ratzoi. That they're not of a presence. They're not of a mitzias. They don't have their own separate identity, and there's a beautiful thing to that. But what understand is that, as the Medrash says, that the purpose of the creation of the world is that, right, Nisava HaKadosh Baruch Hu liyos ladir b'tachtenim, that Hashem, the creator of the world, created the world in order to live in the world, in order to dwell in the world, in order to be here with us, the creations in the world, not to overpower and overwhelm and obliterate the world, right? That should just be created and then disappear into nothingness, right? That if the truth, right, Hashem hu lakim einod mevado, right? Hashem is the only existence in the world, which is an essential truth. But the fact that Hashem creates the world, it means that the world has an importance. Hashem chose it to be important. So if we're dealing on this level of shir pashut, of complete revelation, and completely pushing aside the boundaries of the world, the limitations of our personality and ego, then we may be accomplishing something very, very powerful. But it's not acknowledging the uniqueness, the unique individuality, and the importance of the world itself. So through these other levels, these three other levels, the double, triple, and quadruple song, we're step by step being able to permeate and inject this, so to speak, this transcendent energy in every particular of dimension. And a human being, for example, with their own ego, with their own ideas, can be simultaneously revealing the revelation that's beyond limitation. So that's something to keep in mind in terms of these four levels of song are not necessarily happening one in its kind of full expression, are not necessarily happening at four different times. They're building on each other. The shir pashut is the root. The simple song is the root of the other three. And as we go from a simple song to a double song to a triple song to a quadruple song, we're more deeply integrating the transcendent, beyond reality, beyond limitation, revelation of music that we're bringing it into the boundaries of reality. We're bringing it into the world arba ruches, of four sides, a four-sided world. Right? Ultimately, why four sides? What's significant about the number 4? Well, there's a lot to be said about the number 4 we've talked about before. But let's look at and discuss what the Zohar, the origin of this statement about these 4 levels of song. And as we go into the future, we're going deeper into the Zohar, also being in exile from my own collection of Sforim, of holy books. The Zohar is one of the things with the Pirush Matuk Midavash, the commentary on the Zohar that kind of opens up the Zohar for a lay person like me. Because the text of the Zohar is actually available online, but the Matuk Midavash I haven't been able to find. So at Mitzvah Hashem, I'm going to be getting my hands on a copy soon, and to be able to delve into these Zohars more deeply. But from when I've looked at it before, to recall that the 4 levels of song correspond to the 4, what's called the tetragrammaton, the 4-letter name of God. And from this we can expand to many concepts and really kind of start to understand, because there's a lot of while later Chassidus, this concept in Chassidus is expanded and it's brought down. It's discussed by the Alter Rebbe. It's discussed by the Mittler Rebbe, his son, the Rebbe Dovber. It's discussed to a lesser degree by the Tzemach Tzedek, the grandson of the Alter Rebbe, the son-in-law of the Mittler Rebbe, and it's talked about, and we're teasing out other places where it's talking about by the later Rebbeim. Certainly, each one of the Rebbeim mention it at certain times, but in terms of really going into depth and explaining it, and of course the Rebbe's gift for really helping us apply it to our real life. This, one has to dig and find. This is part of our journey to be able to take the Rebbe's approach and apply it to something the Rebbe did not necessarily speak extensively about, though he did speak about it. And so this idea that, but what Chassidus does speak about, what the Rebbe has taught us how to apply, is the idea of the 4-letter name of God. It's the 4-letter name, Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, right? The holy, right? So this is a powerful revelation. This is the power of creation. And we are built in the image, when it says B'Tselem Elokim, right? We're built in the image of God, right? So essentially, a human being is created it's referring to this Yud Ke Vav Ke. So what is the Yud and the Hey and the Vav and the Hey? This is the form of a human, a form in a way, a spiritual makeup of a person. So you have the Yud, which is a point, a dot, right? And that expands into a Hey. A Hey is a fleshed out Yud, right? That goes in 3 directions, right? It goes side, it goes down, right? It goes, one can see the Hey as 4 directions as well. But, right, so the Yud would expand, radiate out, and then radiate down, right? And then I guess there would be a jump when it comes, there's a little foot that's detached from the other part. That's the Hey. And then there's a Vav, which is just a single line, and then another Hey, a second Hey. So the way Chassidus explains this in a simple, to kind of encapsulate it as it applies to us, that the Yud represents, sometimes it's spoken about, it represents our Chokhmah, or represents, the Mittler Rebbe talks about, it represents Keser, that the Yud is our flash of inspiration. The Yud is a point. It's not fleshed out in any way. It's the root of which, again, the simple song is typified by the Yud, right? Yud represents the flash of Chachma, the flash of wisdom, the flash of inspiration, the moment, the undifferentiated inspiration, right, which comes from Keser, the Kaitz Shel Yud, right? So if a Yud is the way it's written in Hebrew, it has a little point at the top, then it widens out, and then it ends at a point. So the point at the top is often said to be symbolizing Keser, the crown, the transcendent level that's beyond intellect. And then the thicker part of the Yud it's still a point. The whole thing is a point, but it's if you go into the details of it, is the flash of Chachma. This is the idea of an inspired idea, of a moment where you have the groove in your bones, you just haven't played it yet, where you have the idea for the whole song is inside of you, you just haven't written it down yet. That's the idea of Chachma, that's a Yud. So and that's the simple song, which is connected with the point of Chachma, or rather where Chachma comes from Keser, the mysterious beyond of inspiration, right? The simple song. Then we get into the Hey. The Hey fleshes it out. It takes that idea, it takes the inspiration, and it brings it down into Bina, which is understanding. It fleshes it out. It gives it breadth. It gives it depth. It gives it width. So we can take that idea, take that inspiration, we can apply it. We can apply it to other circumstances. We can flesh out the concept. That's the idea of Bina, right? And the Hey also represents the doubled song, because when you're talking about Bina, never exists, right? The Zohar says that Chachma and Bina are Shtem Reim Shalom Yisparshin. They're two buddies who never separate. You can never have a thought of Bina. You can never have a contemplation of going into the details of a concept and then completely lose the concept itself. If you do that, then you're not really engaging in any kind of understanding. It always is looking back to the unified concept, which is Chachma, the simple song, right? So the really Bina, it's fleshing things out. It's enabling the concept to be broadened, but it never loses the point, right? The healthy Bina, or what Bina is itself, right? So then that's the second level. That's the Shir Makupal, as it's explained. The doubled Chochma and Bina, right? So then in that sense, Yud would be Keser, the inspiration beyond. The Hey represents Bina, which is also the doubled song, Chochma and Bina, the two sides of the same coin. Inspiration and the conceptual framework, the fleshing out of that inspiration, the taking a feeling, a sense, and putting it into notes, for example, or at least conceptually. Right, that's the doubled song, right? And we also said that doubled also, if you bring it down a little bit more to the emotional level, which is obviously important, and music can't just exist on an intellectual level, but the doubled song also refers to the emotions of love and the emotion of awe, right? The sense of sweetness in music, and the sense of bitterness in music, of darkness, light and darkness, right? That's the duality, the doubled song, represented by the Hey. Then you have the Vav, which represents the tripled song. And so the Vav is the straight line. So the Vav is also the numerical value of 6, right? So 6 is 2 times 3, so tripled song, with which indicates that each one of the 3 is comprised of 2. And as we learned before, that the triple song is essentially the way the 2 elements, the darkness and the light, the sweetness and the bitterness, become mixed together, become expressed with a third dimension, which is how they are mixed, right? You create a new color, right? You take two individual colors, and you put them together, you create a third color, right? So this is the idea of the Shir Meshulash, the triple song, right? I could have a song that seems sweet on the outside, which you talked about, and is bitter on the inside, or dark, sad on the inside. I can have a song that's bitter or sad on the outside, but is joyful, glad on the inside, right? And this idea that we have this complexity, right? This is the Shir Meshulash, the threefold song. So right there, that was one way we explained it. Another way is if you have, let's say 2 different opinions. One says innocent, one says guilty, and then you have a third opinion, which is picking one or the other, which is leaning towards one or the other, right? So there's 3 separate opinions essentially, and the third, which determines which one takes precedence, right? As opposed to the doubled song, which it's either one or the other, and the third gives us that complexity, that the subtlety of being able to have both at the same time, even though in order to have both at the same time, one has to take precedence. That's the idea of the triple song. One has to take precedence. So, again, applied to music, you could have music that as we said, is in a revealed way joyful, but in a concealed way dark, right? And this is important, obviously, in terms of the effect of music in the world, effect of music on others and on ourselves. That sometimes hitting a sledgehammer happy song, right, is not what we need. And then conversely, just a sledgehammer sad song, right? Give me a Leonard Cohen, right, Afterworld, so I can sigh eternally, right? A Kurt Cobain, right? So sometimes that's not what we need. Sometimes we need the mixture, right? We need that complexity, that we need to, so to speak, trick ourselves, right? If we're gonna surgically address our bitterness and our sadness, sometimes we need a veneer, or the coating of the pill of joyfulness, right? We need a sweet groove sometimes to take the pill of some deep insights of the music that might unleash some of our darker emotions, which is important for catharsis. And alternatively, sometimes we're in a dark mood, and we can relate to dark music, but to unleash our joy, we need that darkness to be the coating of the pill, and then the joy comes out emerges from within the darkness. So that's the triple song, right? So now we get to the quadruple song, the fourfold song, and the fourfold song is the final hey. This is related to the vav is the emotional makeup, right, of a person, let's say, or of a song, and the different ways those emotions are mixed up. So that final hey relates to the faculty of malchus, which is the idea of dominion, or of being able to relate or have an overall container for all the above levels, right? So we get to the fourfold song. So in a sense, when you get to level 4, you no longer need that coating, right? You can have the gladness, and you can have the darkness, and they can both be revealed at the same time. Right? This is the idea of the fourfold song. And they're both revealed at the same time because each one contains the other one, but nevertheless they're both simultaneously revealed. That's the 4 levels. The bitterness that contains the joy that contains the bitterness, and that's the 4 levels. Again, that's one way of looking at 4 levels. The other way we said of looking at 4 levels is like those 2 judges, those 2 opinions, guilty and innocent. The one who is the deciding factor that leans one way or the other, and then the 4th is the transmission of the 3 of the let's say that we call it rabbinical court of 3, the Beis Din's group decision, which is not like any of the individuals, which is a collective decision. So 4 is the idea of a collective. It's collecting an entire person's mind and emotions and expressing it. The 4 is the ability to permeate. Right? It takes the simple song, it takes the essence of inspiration, undifferentiated inspiration that's beyond boundaries and beyond limitations, that can't really, by definition, be contained, because then you lose the simplicity. But nevertheless, that inspiration permeates the doubled, permeates the awareness, the intellectual awareness. It permeates the triple, the emotional awareness, and it is all brought together and integrated into a single expression, which is the quadruple song. And so so there's a lot to be said about that, right? So the letter Daled, which is the number 4 in Hebrew, right, is related to Malchus, right? And we said that there's 4, the Zohar says and then the Alter Rebbe quoted, there's 4 colors in which the souls and the angels, they ascend from below to above through the music, which creates the humility. So the music is the humility. The music is the ability to grow and to exit a previous framework and enter a new framework. So we could do that in the Pashut way by obliterating the previous framework. We could do that in the doubled way by appreciating intellectually or at least letting go of the previous intellectual framework and being able to apprehend a new intellectual framework, the doubled song. The tripled song, the same thing with the emotional framework. And the quadruple song, doing it as in a complete package, right, of all 4 dimensions, right, 4 levels, the arba ruchos, the four sides, or the 4 winds. And this covers all the different flavors and different combinations of flavors. And it's in itself a 4th color. Right, so without going into detail, we can go into the details of the colors, because the Mittler Rebbe goes into great detail of the color. Without going into all the details, there's going to be another whole conversation, though he mentions it. So we're going to just complete with this little bit of text that we left off, this little parentheses at the bottom of the right hand column in the Maimer. We said that the sun moves through the four directions through a sense of humility, through this growth of song. The song is constantly singing. As Yeshua told the sun to stop singing, so the sun would physically stop in the sky, and Yeshua, a human being, could take over the song, could have a song of the 4 dimensions, a 4-fold song that he could cover the entire creation. Right? And it says like this in the parentheses: the sun shines. So the sun travels. It goes south, and it comes around to the north, covering all the 4 directions. So there's the idea of these chalus, the important concept of the inter-inclusion of all 4, north, south, east, and west, with all the flavors that we associate with north, south, east, and west. And the Alter Rebbe and the Mittler Rebbe mention, that the south is warmth, right? The north is coldness, right? The east is the shining of inspiration. Mizrach, from Zerach Hashemesh is Lashon Mizrach, to shine, the beginning of the shine, right? Marav is to set, right? The west, right? As the sun sets, right? All these movements of the sun and all the 4 flavors, and different things grow in different places in the world, and different people have different affinities to different aspects. Different people are more suited to one region or another, have a temperament that fits one region or another, but each person is also complex of the 4. So the zarach ba min mizrach ma'arav. So it shines. It comes from east to west, right? South to north, east to west. This idea of including all the flavors, all the colors, is this idea of the fourth level of song. So to really apply it to us, that we have an incredible merit, especially through the idea of Torah, through the giving of Torah, that the thing that the impossible becomes possible. That what's impossible is that a revelation of divine light, a revelation of a divine song, that's completely beyond limitation, that's completely beyond the world, that's connected to this idea of shir pashut, a simple song, undifferentiated, like the Orein Sof HaPashut, the simple light, the infinite light. It's a powerful thing. Simple doesn't mean simple and weak. Simple means simple and powerful. It has nothing to stop it. It has nothing that changes it from one thing to another. And to take that undifferentiated, powerful energy, the Hashem Echad, the unity of the Creator, and to be able to invest it, to be able to integrate it into the different details of creation, into the different details of who we are as individuals, into the complexity, the potential for incredible complexity within music, with different instruments and different musical flavors and different personalities playing the music and multiple voices, etc. That we permeate that echad through every level, right? That's the shir meruba. It's not a divorce from the previous 3 levels. It's a fulfillment of the levels. It's the ability to reveal the ultimate level, the ultimate unity beyond nature, beyond limitation, in the world, in nature. And that makes a dir b'tachtonim. That reveals the one, the echad, the Creator, who is one in this world, in a way that does not destroy the world, or does not deny the world, does not overwhelm or negate the world, but rather honors the world. The world becomes a conduit. All the different variations within the world become an increase of the expression of Echad, not a decrease, right? And this is the role of a musician in bringing the redemption, that the redemption is this fusing of higher and lower, the ultimate height, which is undifferentiated unity, and the ultimate low, which is complete multiplicity and infinite variety and dimensions. And to reveal, to fuse those two into one, to make a dwelling place for Hashem in this world. So we should all merit to play music with true chayas, true vitality, with real joy, but joy that's permeated with not just an undifferentiated joy, which can be a good thing, or music that's just undifferentiated sadness, but which is an important dimension. We should go and beyond that to include all facets of our personality and all facets of what the world needs from us and what the world needs from our music, to be sensitive to that and create the music that brings everything together. And we have that ability, we have that opportunity, we have the responsibility. So everyone should be blessed with a lot of success in everything, physically, spiritually, musically, right? With abundant singing and playing of music, we bring about the true and complete redemption. Thank you so much.